Welcome to a snowy day in November in Montana. My name is Caleb Plumley, and if you use Topaz software along with Adobe Lightroom, you're going to want to watch this video. I'm going to share with you a way to solve my biggest annoyance with using Topaz, denoise, sharpen, and gigapixel AI within Adobe Lightroom, and that's the file naming. It doesn't give you any information about what software you use to edit the photos, and I have a way to make that happen automatically. There's a ton of tutorials out there on how to use the features, the settings, and all that. I don't know that I have anything unique to add to that particular conversation, but this file naming, I haven't found a solution to it anywhere else, so stick around, check it out, let me know what you think. Here we are inside of Adobe Lightroom Classic, and if I go up to the Photo Edit In menu, you can see I have Topaz, Denoise AI, Gigapixel AI, and Sharpen AI all installed, and they're enabled as Adobe Lightroom Classic plugins. This is how most people go from Adobe Lightroom into one of these programs and back into Lightroom. Let me show you the problem with this. So here's a photo of an eagle I took recently, and you can see if I hover over it, the file name is 5045.nef. Now, you may have JPEGs in there, you may have RAW files, you may have a RAW file from different camera manufacturers. That's not important right now. What we're focusing on is what happens to that file naming whenever you edit in Topaz, Denoise, or Sharpen, or Gigapixel. So that's what I did. I made 3 edits. I sent the photo through Denoise, and then Sharpen, and then Gigapixel sequentially. And now let's look at the file naming, what happened. I sent this through Topaz Denoise AI, and the file naming says -edit.tiff. Okay, that's helpful. I know I've edited it. Look at this photo. This file name says -edit-edit. Okay. Well, what about this photo? This photo says -edit-edit-edit. Well, now things are getting very confusing. If I forget what I did a month from now or a year from now, how do I know which software I use to edit these photos and in what order? Wouldn't it be fantastic if this file name, instead of saying 5045-edit, maybe it would say -denoise AI? That's what I want to see. I want to see what order I use these softwares in so that I can go back and use any one of these versions that I want and know exactly what's happened to it. I'm going to show you a solution to this with a tweak to your settings to make sure you get the naming right. So what do you do to send a photo to Topaz typically? Let's go down here to this photo that I haven't edited yet in Topaz. If I hover over it, you see the name 5051.nef. That's a RAW file. I've made some edits in Lightroom. If I want to send this to Topaz Denoise, I right-click on it, I go down to Edit In, and I have this option right here to edit in Topaz Denoise AI. Now if I do that, I will get a -edit file name. It won't say denoise. What I have created is an export setting. Notice if I come farther down on my right-click menu and I go to Export, I have settings in here underneath a banner that says Edit in Topaz for Denoise, Gigapixel, and Sharpen. I've created these. These are export presets, and they act the exact same way as the Edit In button over here, with the exception that it will properly name your files so that you know what software you've used. Let me show you an example. Here's some photos of pika that I took recently in the mountains. If you don't know what a pika is, let me zoom in on this one for you. Pika are these adorable little mountain creatures, and I have a video of me shooting photos of these coming out here soon, so check back for that. But what's important to notice is look at this file name. So this is the raw file name right here, 0922, but notice the dash numbers. I have -dn and -sh. This is what file naming I chose to designate that I've sent it through Denoise and Sharpen. If I go back to my library view here, here's the original file, _0922.nef. Then I sent it through Denoise, and that file name is -dnai, which I made to stand for Denoise AI. And then I sent it through Sharpen, and now it says -dnai-shai. So I know this is Denoise and then Sharpen. It's exactly what the software should do on its own, but we have to make a tweak so that it does it for us automatically, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go up to File and Export. This is going to bring up your export preset manager. Now, your screen will look different than mine. You won't have this edit in Topaz and all these, and you may or may not have more presets than I do here. That's not important. I'm going to show you how to build this right here, this edit in Topaz, Denoise AI, Gigapixel AI, and Sharpen AI presets so that they get the naming correct. In order to show you exactly what I did to create these, I'm actually going to delete these and create them from scratch so you can follow along and get the exact settings. I recommend these exact settings for anybody in Adobe Lightroom Classic using any one of these Topaz softwares because it works fantastic. You can make tweaks to it, but make them at your own risk. Make sure you know what you're doing if you change any of these options. If you follow these instructions exactly, you'll get the exact same results that I do. So let's delete these first. Starting from any one of these presets, you can choose any one of these, one that you've made yourself or a default in Lightroom. Let's start with the default in Lightroom. Follow these exact settings. First thing at the top, make sure that this option here is set to export to hard drive. Select that first, and we'll come down to this export location. It should look just like this. I am going to select same folder as original photo. What this is going to do is create the copy that you're going to edit in the Topaz software in the exact same location on your hard drive or external hard drive as your original photo. So I'm going to uncheck this box right here, put in subfolder. I don't want it to be in a subfolder. I want it to be in the exact same folder as the original. But this button here, add to catalog, make sure you have this checked. This will make sure that whenever you export this photo and you go into Topaz, when you come back, it will automatically be added to your Lightroom catalog and you won't have to go find it. So this is very important. Now, whether or not you want to check this box, add to stack, is up to you. I prefer to have it off of there. As we continue down, file naming. This is where we're going to choose exactly how our files are named. So we're going to check that box and we're going to come down into this drop-down menu and we're going to go to edit. So here's where we can edit what our file name is going to look like. It defaults to just having this file name symbol in here. Don't edit that. You want the file name to stay the same. All we want to do is add some characters at the end. I want it to say -denoise AI. And you can see an example of the file name. It will send that exact file name, the original file name, and it'll put -denoise AI after it. Now, I don't like how long that is. I don't like my file names getting really long. If I send it through Denoise and then Sharpen and Gigapixel, the file name just gets incredibly long. So I'm going to shorten this up and I'm going to go with DNAI. And I know that stands for Denoise AI. Now you can call this whatever you want, but I recommend this. It keeps your file name short and it's very recognizable. We're going to hit done. Look at the example down here where you have your original file name -DNAI. That's what it's going to look like once you get done editing. Continuing down on these options, we're going to skip past video because this doesn't apply to videos. We're going to go to file settings. We're going to change this image format to TIFF. The highest quality option that you have to send from Lightroom and into a Topaz software and then back is a TIFF. I like to leave it as color space ProPhoto RGB. That is the largest color space available. No compression. We do not want to compress these photos, and we want the maximum bit depth, which is 16 bits here. Moving down further, we're going to come down to image sizing and we're going to uncheck this box. We do not want to resize our image. Output sharpening, we're going to uncheck this box as well, make sure it's not checked. Coming down to metadata, this is a personal choice. I personally like to set all of my metadata with the photo, and I like to uncheck all these boxes. Watermarking, we do not want to send a watermark on here. All right, now this is super important, post-processing. After export, this is where we're going to choose what software we open it in. So scrolling back up here to the top, remember we chose that this one's going to be our preset for Denoise AI. So that's the software we're going to choose down here. I'm going to click on this drop-down menu and we're going to say open in other application. Now you may have this option that says open in Topaz, Gigapixel, or Sharpen. If that shows up, great, use it from right here, but I'll show you where to get the application. So we're going to go open another application. I'm going to go choose. Now I'm on Windows 10, so I know that this program file exists inside my main hard drive, program files, Topaz Labs LLC, and now I have all three softwares installed, so I'm going to go to Denoise first because that's the one we're dealing with right now. And I'm going to find Denoise, Topaz Denoise AI.exe. This is obviously going to be a little different on a Mac. I don't have a Mac, so you'll have to find where that program file is stored. But it is there. You can find it online. I'm going to select this program. Now I hit open, and it's going to add it right here. Now, this will change our file name, export to Topaz denoise, and bring it back, and you will have that, scrolling up here again, -dn AI on the end of your file name. Perfect. Now we just need to save it. So we're going to come down here to this button that says add. We're going to hit add, and I'm going to make a preset name for this, and I'm just going to call it denoise AI. But I'm going to save it underneath a header. Now you don't have to do this, but I think it's convenient. I'm going to save it, instead of saying user presets folder, I'm going to create a new folder and name this edit in Topaz. And hit create. Now notice it's made an edit in Topaz header over here, and if I hit create on this again, it's going to pop up my preset that says denoise AI inside of edit in Topaz. That's going to give you that right-click context menu that allows you to right-click on a photo, go to export, edit in Topaz, denoise AI, and do it perfectly the way I showed you could a few minutes ago. Now, if you have multiple softwares like me, I have all three, denoise, sharpen, and gigapixel on my computer. Continue along and add your other presets the exact same way with tweaking the suffix of your file name and the program. I'll show you how to do that. If you have Sharpen AI, you're going to leave all the settings the exact same as we just did right there, except we're going to change the file name. We're going to come back down here, click the drop down, go edit, and I'm going to change this to Sharpen AI. Again, that file name is pretty long. I don't personally like that. I'm going to change it up to just SHAI. I know what that means. It means Sharpen AI in my mind. And I'm going to hit done. You can see what your file is going to look like after it goes through Sharpen AI. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of this screen, and we're going to change the application that we're opening it in. I'm going to go to Choose. I'm going to go back to Topaz Labs and go to Sharpen AI, and I'm going to find the Sharpen AI program. So here it is. Topaz Sharpen AI.exe. Select that, hit open, and now we're done with this one. We need to save it. We're going to go to add, and I'm going to change this one to say Sharpen, Sharpen AI, and I'm going to put it in that same folder. Great. It shows up right here, denoise and sharpen. I've got one more to do. I'm going to do gigapixel. We're going to do the exact same thing. Scroll up to the top, come to the file naming, edit, and I'm not even going to try typing in full gigapixel. That's way too long of a file name for me. I'm just going to type in gig AI for my file name. I'll know that means it was edited in gigapixel AI. Hit done. Scroll to the bottom and then choose your program again. Don't forget to do this. Topaz Labs LLC, Topaz Gigapixel AI. I'm going to come in here and find Topaz Gigapixel AI.exe. Open that. Now I need to save this one. Don't forget to save it. Hit add, and I'm going to say Gigapixel AI, and I'm going to save it in that same folder. Boom, done. So now we have an edit in Topaz right-click context menu where we can export to denoise, gigapixel, and sharpen AI. Perfect. Now we're going to hit done in here. So now you've done all that work. It was a lot of setup, but now you will have your file naming handled natively inside of Lightroom, and you don't have to edit the file names afterwards. So remember my example of these pica pictures right here. I have a file name that was 0922.nef, and then whenever I edited it in denoise AI, it automatically made this name show up as -dnai because I did the exact thing that I just showed you to. No longer do you have to go and manually rename your files or have the -edit confusion whenever you send it to a denoise application from Lightroom. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this now. I'm going to come back here to this raw file. I'm going to right click. Actually, you know what? I'm going to choose a different file. Let's go to a different one, just a random one. I'm going to click on this file here. And I'm going to right click, and I'm going to scroll past edit in. I'm not going to go edit in any of these right here. And I'll show you how to get rid of these in just a minute. I'm going to go all the way down to export and go to my edit in Topaz denoise. That's what I'm going to click. Now it's going to take a second to open up. My computer's not the fastest with this. Right, now we're in Topaz denoise. I'm just going to leave these defaults on here, clear auto settings, and hit apply so that we have this as an example. But notice the file naming. It's editing this file as the raw file name 0910, but it added -DNAI on its own. I didn't do that. I had just had that set up in the presets as we showed you. So as soon as this gets done processing, it will pop back up into Photoshop. I'm not going to make you wait for this processing. I'll speed this up and I'll come back whenever it's ready. Okay, now Denoise AI is done processing. It says saving, and this is going to automatically close and pop right back up to my Lightroom screen in just a second. And there we go. So that operated the exact same way as if you went to the right click and edit in, except we used our export settings. Now here's our original photo that I just edited. Notice it's the dash or the .nef file name, and here's what we just did from Topaz Denoise. So now notice it's the original file name 0910-DNAI. So it works exactly as I said. I'm going to just bring these up real quick so you can see that it actually did go through Denoise AI. I'm going to zoom in and go to my Pica, and you can see if I zoom in to 200%, my original file here is very noisy and soft, and after it went through Denoise AI, it's nice and clear. Now that's great. I can see Denoise AI on here. You'd think maybe you could tell a difference by just seeing what the image looks like, but there are sharpen and denoise options in multiple softwares with Topaz, so you don't know which one you really used, and from a distance, as you can tell, you can't tell a difference. So this naming is tremendous. I have DNAI up here instead of -edit. Now if I send it through sharpen, it will say SHAI and etc., just the way I showed you. That's how I want it to perform, and that's how I think it should perform natively. Hopefully Lightroom and Topaz will get together at some point and make this just happen on its own, but for right now this is the best workaround that I've seen. So now we can have files that look like this down here. Our previous example, where I click on the name, it has the exact history of what software it was edited in. Now it says denoise and sharpen. So that's fantastic. It handles file naming now the exact way that I want, with one exception, and that's Photoshop. So if you're like me and you occasionally edit a photo in Photoshop, maybe you need to apply some special masking or take something out or whatever you do in Photoshop from Lightroom, I still go to edit in and edit in Adobe Photoshop or open as a smart object. If you select multiple photos, you can right click and say edit in, merge to panorama, merge to HDR. Oops, I lost my menu. Or open as layers in Photoshop. Now those options are absolutely tremendous. I love having those options because sometimes I want to focus stack an image and I want to open up multiple photos in Photoshop at once. Setting that up through an export is very difficult and it could be very confusing with the file naming, etc. So I don't like to do the method that I just showed you for Photoshop specifically. I keep that in the edit in menu. Now, I am annoyed every time I go into Photoshop with an image and it comes back named -edit. So how do you fix that for Photoshop? Come up to Edit, Preferences, and this External Editing tab. Now, some of you might have thought, why didn't I use this all along? And I'll explain why I didn't. Well, the only naming option is down here. Now, if I come into this setting right here, this is editing for these options up here, but only if you do the right click and edit in. So now that I have presets for gigapixel sharpen and denoise, I don't need to use the right click menu edit in anymore for those. I only use it for Photoshop myself. So since I only use it for Photoshop, I'm going to change the default naming in here. I'm going to go to this template name down here. I'm going to go to edit. Notice it looks identical to what we were dealing with before, except it says -edit. That's the default in Lightroom. I don't like that because I'm only going to use this for Photoshop going forward. I'm going to change this to PS, and I'm going to say PS Edit because I use PS at my work a lot for a file name. It confuses me. You can name whatever you want, but now if I hit done, this will only happen. You'll only get this -PS Edit whenever you do right click and edit in. So if I go to a photo and I say right click, edit in, any one of these, it's going to give me that ending of the name. It's going to have that -PS edit. Now, we don't want to do that if we go to denoise, gigapixel, or sharpen, but remember, we're not going to come up here anymore. We're going to come down to export. Well, now you might ask, how do I remember? What if I forget? What if I go to edit in and it screws up my file naming? That's worse. Well, I'll show you how to get rid of those. Now, only do this if you want to. and you can always get them back, but I'm going to show you how to get rid of these edit in, denoise, gigapixel, and sharpen options here so that you are reminded to go down to your new export options. So we're going to go back to where we just were. We're going to go to Edit, Preferences, and we're going to go to External Editing. Inside of here, I can remove any of these that I want. I'm going to go to Topaz Denoise, and I'm going to say delete preset, and I'm going to say delete. I'm going to go to Gigapixel AI and delete, and I'm going to go to sharpen, and I'm going to say delete. Perfect. Now I'm going to hit OK. Now if I come back and right click on one of my photos, go to edit in, notice you don't have the option to open in Topaz products of any sort anymore over here. But my export options that we set up that has the naming correct are all here. So those are your only options to open in Topaz right now. So you might be asking a few questions. First, does this operate correctly every time? Yes, in my testing, it happens the exact same way as you would do with a right click and edit in. Does it run any slower? No. From my experience, it runs the exact same speed. It runs just as fast going right click and edit in as it does whenever you do right click and export and use one of those options. So it does exactly what we want, and until Lightroom and Topaz fix this problem where you can't do this automatically, this is the best workaround that I know. So now you can end up with a Lightroom catalog that looks like mine, where you have multiple edits, but you can see exactly what happened. You'll know if it went through Photoshop, or denoise, or sharpen, or gigapixel, and you'll always know where your file's at. So that's my tip for the day. I haven't found any other videos that show this just yet, so if you found it helpful, share it around, and maybe it'll even make it back to the folks at Lightroom up at Adobe, and they'll fix this the proper way. That's the tip, and I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to clear it up. And if it helps you out, like I said, shoot me a note. I'd like to know. And if you're interested in any other things that I do in Lightroom, or you're interested in my photography, keep checking out my channel. Send me a message. Let me know what you want to see, and I'd be happy to provide that. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.